back to your English class. Now, in our first video, we talked about The Black Aeroplane by Frederick Forsyth. I hope you all must have understood the story. Now, we'll talk about the questions based on the story. Now, first, we'll deal with the textual questions. The first question is, I'll take the risk. What is the risk? Why does the narrator take it? Now, the risk here refers to not doing the right thing, which is flying back to Paris when he came to know about the storm. Despite being aware of the bad weather, the pilot headed straight into the storm and risked the lives of his fellow passengers. The pilot's decision making was clouded by his wish to meet his family. He so desperately wanted to be with his family and have that English breakfast he had been dreaming of all day, that he took the risk of not going back. Now, question number 2. Describe the narrator's experience as he flew the aeroplane into the storm. The narrator was frightened as he lost control of the plane. He felt helpless as the compass and other instruments had stopped working. Nothing outside the aeroplane was visible when suddenly, in the midst of nowhere, an unknown plane was visible and the pilot was eager to help him. The narrator was panicking because there was very less fuel left, but somehow he managed to escape the storm with the help of the strange pilot who he could not thank. Now, question number 3. Why does the narrator say, I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota? The narrator had landed at an unknown place as his compass and radar had stopped functioning in the storm. He was not scared to leave the plane unattended and go to the control center to inquire about the mysterious plane which had helped him out of the storm. Question number 4. What made the woman in the control center look at the narrator strangely? The women in the control center looked at the narrator strangely when he asked about the other pilot that helped him escape the storm. This is because there was no other plane in the sky during such bad weather. Now, question number 5. Who do you think helped the narrator to reach safely? Discuss this among yourselves and give reasons for your answer. Now, I'm sure most of you must be having some different answers, but this is one of the answers which you can give. That is, it was the pilot's own conscience which helped him out of the storm. There was no other plane out on that stormy night. So, probably, he was hallucinating. It was his own capability as a pilot which led him out of that black cloud. Now, we have extract-based questions. As you know, in your board exams, you get extract-based questions of 4 marks each. Now, here are a few examples. This is the extract, and on the basis of this extract, we have 4 questions, 1 mark each, and you get vocabulary-based questions in these extracts. The first question is, how was the weather when the pilot started flying his aeroplane? Why was the pilot flying his old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England? Find out the word similar in the meaning to hoping with pleasure. Choose from the passage the word which means land outside towns or cities. The answers: when the pilot started flying his aeroplane, it was a clear weather as the moon was up in the east, stars were shining, and there wasn't any cloud in the sky. The pilot was flying his old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England because he wanted to enjoy his holiday and morning breakfast with his family. Now, the word similar in meaning to hoping with pleasure is looking forward to, and The word which means land outside towns or cities is the countryside. Now, second question, again a small extract from the story. The questions are: what happened when the pilot was about 150 kilometers away from Paris? What does the author compare the clouds to? Find out the word similar in meaning as sufficient. The word elephantine is similar in meaning to the word dash. Now, this question was asked in CBSE 2016 board exam. Now, the answers: the pilot saw storm clouds when he was about 150 kilometers away from Paris. The author compares the clouds to Black Mountain. The word similar to sufficient is enough, and the word elephantine means the same as huge. Now, the third passage, again an extract, followed by 4 questions. First question: why was the pilot happy to find his aeroplane behind another aeroplane in the black clouds? Why was the pilot frightened again? Find the opposite of insufficient from the passage. What does a storm mean? Now, the answers: the pilot was happy to find his aeroplane behind another aeroplane in the black clouds because another pilot was helping him come out of the storm clouds. The pilot felt frightened again because the fuel was not sufficient to reach the destination, as it was only enough for next 5 or 10 minutes. Now, the opposite of insufficient is enough. What is a storm? Storm is a very bad weather with strong winds and rain, thunder and lightning. Now, these were the extract based questions. Now, in your exams, you get short answers for 2 marks each. Question number 1: describe author's feeling when he was flying his aeroplane back to England. The author was very excited while he was flying his aeroplane back to England because he wanted to spend his holiday with his family at home. Question number 2: how much fuel was there in the aeroplane when the writer started flying? The answer: there was sufficient fuel in the tanks of the aeroplane to reach England safely when the writer started flying. Question number 3: what risk did the writer take while flying and why? The writer decided to risk to fly through the storm clouds because he wanted to enjoy his holiday with his family back in England. Now, question number 4: what did the writer feel inside the clouds when he was inside the clouds? When the writer entered the clouds, it became impossible to see outside the aeroplane. The aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air, and all the instruments like compass, etc., stopped working due to the weather conditions. Now, question number 5: why did the writer follow the pilot of another aeroplane? This was asked in CBSE 2016 question paper. The writer followed another aeroplane because he had lost the way in the storm and was unable to see anything. The pilot of another aeroplane was helping him to get out of the storm and land safely. Now, we have value-based questions also of 8 marks from these chapters. Our first question is: the pilot wanted to thank another pilot after his safe landing. Why? What values of the writer are reflected from his action? The pilot of the old Dakota was caught in the storm. He lost his contact with the control room. In his troubling situation, his fuel tank was also empty. He lost all his hopes, but suddenly a black, strange plane appeared. The pilot of the black plane asked the writer to follow him. The writer landed safely. After his safe landing, he wanted to thank the pilot of the black plane. This shows his gratitude towards the pilot of the black plane. He was thankful to him for saving his life. It shows that the pilot of Dakota had a great value of gratefulness in his character. Now, the second question: how did the writer get out of the storm in the night to land safely? Now, this question was asked in CBSE 2016 board examination. The writer was flying his old Dakota aeroplane when he saw the black clouds. He was lost in the storm. Suddenly, he saw a black aeroplane by his side, which had no lights on its wings. The pilot instructed the writer to follow as he had lost the way. He obeyed him like a child. He was very happy to follow him. After some time, the pilot of another plane started to land. The writer followed him blindly through the storm and came out of the clouds. He saw the lights of the runway and landed safely. Now I have an assignment for you, a speaking activity. What is your idea about the phantom plane? The plane which appeared and then disappeared. Was it really there, or did the pilot imagine it? Express your views. You need to think about it and express your views by recording them and send it in the Google Classroom. Now, another speaking activity: narrate your own stories about flying. It could be about flying in an aeroplane, or flying a kite, which most of you must have done, or about watching a bird flying. Anything to do with flight. So, this also you will record in your voice and then send it in the Google Classroom. Now, here we have a bar graph which talks about the current fleet size of scheduled airline companies. You need to study the bar graph and then answer the questions that follow. Which airlines have the highest and lowest fleet size? If Air India is the highest grossing airline, which airline will be on fifth? Which two airlines have analogous number of aircrafts? As per the graph, what is the fleet size of Jet Airways? What is the proportionate difference in fleet size of Air India and SpiceJet? And what, according to you, can be the reason of small fleet size of Air India and Vistara? Kindly do these questions and send your answers in Google Classroom. Now that is all in this chapter. Hope you must have understood the story and also learned how to attempt the question and answers. Thank you and have a nice day. Stay home, stay safe.